Imagine two athletes. Both are world number one. Both have won multiple Grand Slams. Both are considered generational talents. But off the court, they couldn't be more different. One spends his days off playing golf in the Spanish sunshine, drives back to his family home in a small town most people have never heard of, and walks around his neighborhood like he's just any other 22-year-old. The other follows one of the most structured, disciplined, and scientifically optimized routines in the history of professional sport. No gluten, no dairy, meditation twice a day, ice baths, breath work, and a training schedule that leaves almost nothing to chance. Carlos Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic, two champions, two completely different worlds. And today, we're going inside both of them. This is the Hawkeye, where we see what others miss. Let's just take a second to appreciate what we're looking at here. Carlos Alcaraz is 22 years old. He already has 7 Grand Slam titles. He became the youngest world number one in ATP history. He grew up in El Palmar, a town of about 22,000 people in the Murcia region of southeast Spain, about as far from the spotlight as you can get. Novak Djokovic is 38. He has 24 Grand Slam titles, more than any player in history. He's been world number one for over 400 weeks. He is, by almost every measurable metric, the greatest tennis player who ever lived. These two are in completely different chapters of their careers. But right now, in 2026, they are two names at the very top of the sport. And what makes this so fascinating is that the way they got there and the way they stay there couldn't look more different. So let's start with the younger one. Let's start with Carlos. Most elite athletes move. They relocate to training hubs in Miami, Monaco, or Dubai. They follow the money, the facilities, the tax breaks. Carlos Alcaraz went home. Even now, at the peak of his career, after winning Wimbledon on the most famous tennis court in the world, Alcaraz returns to El Palmar. His family is there. His friends are there. The local restaurants he's been going to since he was a kid, they're still there. In interviews, he's spoken about how much that matters to him. That sense of normality, that grounding. For Carlos, going home isn't just comfort, it's fuel. It's what keeps him connected to who he is when the cameras aren't on. Here's something a lot of tennis fans don't know about Alcaraz. When he gets a day off, he plays golf. Not as some sort of cross-training exercise. Not because his coaching team told him to. He just genuinely loves it. He's been spotted on courses in Spain and abroad, relaxed, enjoying himself, completely unplugged from tennis. His former coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, himself a former world number one, has spoken about how important it is for Carlos to have that release. Tennis at the elite level is relentless. The pressure, the travel, the constant demand to perform. A player who can mentally switch off, who can find genuine joy outside the sport, often has a longer and more sustained career than one who is laser-focused 24/7. And if you've watched Alcaraz play, you see that joy translate directly onto the court. The fist pumps, the smiles mid-rally, the way he seems to genuinely love competing, even in the toughest moments. That's not performance. That's someone who is, at his core, still having fun. Alcaraz plays tennis the way a kid plays in the street, with instinct, creativity, and no fear. His drop shots, his net approaches, his ability to play shots that seem physically impossible. It all comes from a place of freedom. His game is an extension of his personality. Expressive, spontaneous, occasionally chaotic, but always entertaining. He doesn't win because of a perfect system. He wins because he is so physically gifted, so mentally free, and so genuinely in love with the game that his opponents simply can't keep up. If Alcaraz is a force of nature, Djokovic is a precision instrument. Everything about Novak Djokovic's life is structured around one goal: being the best tennis player in the world for as long as possible. And to achieve that, he has built one of the most comprehensive performance systems any athlete has ever put together. It starts with food. In 2010, Djokovic discovered he had a gluten intolerance, and cutting gluten out of his diet transformed his career. He's also dairy-free, largely plant-based, and incredibly precise about what he puts into his body. He's talked about eating the same pre-match meals, timing his nutrition to the minute, and treating food as medicine. But the physical side is only part of it. What really separates Djokovic is his mind. He meditates. He has worked extensively with sports psychologists. He practices visualization, running through entire match scenarios in his head before he ever steps on court. He does breath work. He has spoken openly about using mindfulness to deal with the pressure of performing in front of millions of people, often with championships on the line. Watch him before a first serve in a deciding set. The way he closes his eyes, the slow breath, the ritual bounce of the ball. That is not superstition. That is a trained mental state. He is resetting his nervous system in real time. And then there's what might be his most remarkable quality: the ability to suffer and keep going. Djokovic has won matches from positions that looked completely hopeless. He has come back from 2 sets down in Grand Slam finals. He has won tournaments on one leg. He had surgery on his knee ahead of his Wimbledon campaign in 2024 and still reached the final. That is not talent. That is will. And that will is the product of years of deliberate mental conditioning. So here's the question. This video is really asking, which approach is right? The answer, of course, is that both are. Alcaraz's freedom isn't a lack of discipline. He trains brutally hard with his team. But his identity stays rooted in joy, in family, in a life outside of tennis that keeps him sane and hungry. Djokovic's structure isn't rigidity for its own sake. It's the product of a man who learned, through 2 decades of elite competition, exactly what his body and mind need to perform at the highest level. His system is a deeply personal one, built through trial and error across a career that spans 3 generations of tennis. What both of them share is this: they know themselves completely. Alcaraz knows he needs lightness. Djokovic knows he needs control. And they've both built lives that give them exactly that. The lesson here isn't about gluten-free diets or golf rounds. It's about self-awareness. The greatest performers in any field aren't copying someone else's blueprint. They're building their own. Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic are right now 2 of the best players on the planet. And as long as they both stay healthy, we are going to keep watching 2 completely different philosophies of greatness go head-to-head on the biggest courts in the world. That's what makes this era of tennis so special. It's not just about who wins. It's about how they win, and who they are when they're not winning. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe, because we've got a lot more of these coming. Next up, we're going deep on the player the tennis world can't stop talking about right now. You already know who it is. I'm the Hawkeye. See you on the other side.